any of Shanann leaving or someone coming in the house or her leaving with a friend.
Nate came forward and showed the police that surveillance video, and Chris was there too. And all this was captured on the body camera.
If any action would have happened, any cars or anything left your house, I would have...
Yeah, if it would have been like right in that area, it should have picked me.
Oh, it'll pick up anything coming down the street this way.
You know where that trigger is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
At 5:27 a.m., I had noticed that there was a motion on my camera of Chris backing his truck up into the driveway and then into the garage.
Usually park out there on the side, I just want to get everything back in. Be easier to run everything out there, all the tools that I had to bring in.
What the video shows is Chris making several trips from the garage out to the driver's side of the vehicle, which is on the other side of the car from the angle that the camera is placed. So you can't see what, if anything, he's putting in the car per se.
Loading my stuff up in my coolers, my water jugs, my book bag, my computers, some of the tools that I have in the toolbox. I knew I was going to have to do some pumping into rubbers today. That's why I was out so far.
I was definitely hoping to catch Shanann leaving with Bella and Celeste. I was hoping we might catch somebody coming and picking them up to take them on a play date like Chris had said, but we had picked up no other motion or anything like that coming from their house.
The camera on the front of Nathan's house shows that truck leaving at 5:45, and a part of a thorough investigation at a very early stage is creating a timeline. What time did the husband leave? Where was the wife? Where were the children at these particular times? And they're really starting to fill in those gaps.
Chris, I had noticed that he wasn't watching the tape. He was looking down at his phone a lot, he was looking away a lot, and every time he did say something, he was trying to prove a point. No cars came through because I guarantee with the headlights, it picked up the headlights automatically.
And my Vivint said that at 5:27, my garage door was left open.
I definitely was watching Chris's body language, and at that point in time, he definitely could have been freaking out because his wife was gone and his children were gone. I just personally thought the way he was acting was a little strange. As a father, like, my eyes would have never left that screen.
No.
The officer, even at this point in time, with the things that he is seeing, it has to keep an open mind. You can't start having tunnel vision on one person right away to the exclusion of everything else. But there is a sense that we need to start looking at this from a criminal investigation standpoint, not just a welfare check anymore.
We really needed to go back into the Watts residence and do a thorough forensic search of that house.
Hi, are you Chris?
Chris, yes.
Chris, Officer Lyons with the Frederick Police Department. This office press.
Chris was compliant, cooperative. Our CSIs went in and searched for evidence, blood stains, signs of cleanup. We didn't see signs of struggle in the house. Things weren't knocked over. Things weren't broken and damaged.
They are really organized people.
Canines, cadaver dogs had gone through to pick up scents. We did notice the top sheet of the bed was missing, which we thought was a little out of place considering how clean everything else was. We didn't find any evidence inside the house.
The Frederick Police Department reached out to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, as well as the FBI, and requested assistance with a missing person investigation. We ran criminal histories on both Chris Watts and Shanann Watts. Neither one of them had a criminal record. So part of the investigation, I needed to know who Shanann was. And so I started looking at her Facebook page. I can kind of appreciate her attitude, I guess, sometimes. I come from a long line of Italian women, so we're very strong, sassy, assertive, and that's how I pictured Shanann. It was obvious she loved being a mom, she loved being a wife, and she loved what she did for work.
The Frederick Police Department, they did a neighborhood canvass, they knocked on a lot of doors, they started contacting businesses in the area that might have surveillance videos.
How are you? What's going on? We are looking for her and for her kids.
Tonight, police issued a missing endangered alert for Shanann Watts and her two daughters. Her husband says she's been missing since Monday morning.
I hope that she's somewhere safe right now and with the kids. I just want them back. I just want them to come back. And if they're not safe right now, that's what's tearing me apart. Because if they are safe, they're coming back. But if they're not, this has got to stop. Like, somebody has to come forward.
So we're all watching Chris's first interview basically live on the 5 o'clock news.
Did you guys get into an argument before she left?
It wasn't like an argument. We had an emotional conversation, but I'll leave it at that. But it's just, I want everybody to just come home. Like, wherever they're at, come home. That's what I want.
Chris talked about how he and his wife had an emotional conversation right before she went missing, which I thought was strange, that you would talk about that on the news.
Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like, if somebody has her, just please bring her back.
The concern that he professed to have for his wife and kids seemed very feigned, seemed very cold and calculated. Even though people grieved differently, he was so extraordinarily calm and was internally inconsistent in what he was saying and how he was saying it, that it raised a lot of red flags. It just really struck everyone as, what in the world is going on?
If my family was missing, I would be an absolute wreck. So the fact that he was clean cut, real calm, real cool, kind of seemed collected, definitely put a big red flag up for me.
I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring her back.
I think we were all in shock, and I recall immediately turning around to a Special Agent Coder of the FBI, who I had never met before, and I just said, oh, we need him in a room with us that's recorded, and we need to get his story down right now. We had already predetermined that Special Agent Coder with the FBI would conduct the initial interview of Chris Watts at the police department, and then he would request that I conduct a polygraph with Chris later on. Chris was not a suspect. It's very important to not alienate Chris. And at this point, he knows the most about everything, and we really wanted him to help us find his family.
What do you think happened? At first, I really thought maybe she was just at somebody's house, just decompressing. Going off scene? Yeah. But after today, like with the onslaught of, all the police cars, all the news, all the canine units, it's making me lean the other direction about someone took her. Okay. And it's freaking me out.
I was able to watch a live feed video of the interview as it was happening, and it was extremely important to get a baseline story from Chris.
This is a husband whose wife and children are missing. He's the last one to have seen them. He can give us the information that we need to help find them.
Special Agent Coder had Chris actually write out a written statement, and so they spent, several hours going over Chris's statement in great, great detail.
So, 1:40 a.m., doorbell detects a visitor. It showed Nicole dropping her off. Okay. 2 a.m., Shanann gets in bed with me. 4 a.m., that's when my alarm goes off for work. Start having a conversation with her about having the house up for sale and talking about proceeding with the separation. Okay. And it gets pretty emotional because we have 2 beautiful kids and we have 1 on the way.
At that point, we had Shanann's phone. And some of the things that we were learning from going through Shanann's phone is that she'd been talking to a lot of her girlfriends about Chris becoming very distant. They had even talked about counseling, and Chris was resistant.
It was very emotional. We were both crying, and at the end, we just said, she said she was going to take the kids to her friend's house today. She would be back. Okay. I was like, okay.
Looking back on that conversation, can you connect the dots between both of you being upset and crying, and here we are, and now she and the kids are gone?
I think about, did I cause this? Did I make her feel like she needed to leave? Maybe she sat there and thought about it, do I really need to stay here right now? If he doesn't love me, maybe I should just go.
It seemed like Chris was definitely taking a small portion of responsibility for her disappearance. But I felt like Chris was not being honest and was not telling the complete story. At that point, Special Agent Coder really needed to kind of turn up the heat.
The day she goes missing is the day that you guys have marital discord. So you can understand what I'm thinking about you.
Yeah. Makes me sick to my stomach, honestly. Like, this is something that I would never do.
Are you telling me the truth?
Absolutely. Absolutely true.
Why should I believe you?
Because I'm a very trustworthy person.
Special Agent Coder has a very soft, soothing almost type of voice when he was talking to Chris. But at the same time, he was asking very, very tough questions.
Do you know where your wife is?
No, 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 my wife is.
Are you telling me the truth?
I'm telling you the absolute truth.
Okay.
We really hadn't seen any emotion from him up to that point, and we wanted to see if maybe faced with the pictures of the people that he said he loved and that are missing, to see if that would elicit any more information or any emotion from Chris.
She loves those shoes, even though they were winter shoes. But she loved those shoes. She always loves those shoes. And Bella, she loved that dress. She loved those flip-flops. She was a girly girl.
If he is hoping and believing that they're still alive, so why would you start talking about them in past tense? That's obviously a red flag.
So I need to ask you about your marriage and infidelity.
Okay.
Okay, tell me about it.
I have never cheated on my wife.
Okay.
And I fully suspect she has never done that to me.
Oh, okay.
I fully expect if we ever thought about straying another way, that we would tell each other before it happened.
I think that sounds ridiculous. I gotta ask, what's her name?
I don't have another one.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Okay.
I definitely needed to know what was the reason for the separation. What was the reason behind wanting to possibly end his marriage? If you weren't having an affair, Chris, what is it?
Why are you falling out of love?
I couldn't be myself around Jeanette anymore. Does that make sense at all?
The timing doesn't make sense to me.
You know, people just fall out of love. And that's where I was.
I gotta tell you, that sounds like a load of horse shit.
I know.
There's what Chris is saying, and there's what Chris is not saying. Chris was not imploring us to go find his family. He was not giving us additional tips to follow up on. He did not honestly seem interested in the investigation. So Special Agent Coder needed Chris to try and explain his actions.
I can tell that there's just something you're not telling me. Why you're not telling me that there's something that's making you a little bit uncomfortable tonight.
Our initial thought was to do a polygraph that evening, just so we could either determine if he had something to do with her disappearance or we could rule him out. But his interview with Special Agent Coder was over close to 3 hours. It was past 10 o'clock. He's tired. It's not an ideal situation to try and start a polygraph that can be very extensive. And we really wanted to start fresh with him. So at that point, we asked Chris if he would come back the next day for a polygraph.
So can we say that tomorrow at 11 o'clock?
Sure.
We can do a polygraph?
Sure.
Here.
When Chris left that evening, investigators spent the entire evening combing through his computer records, cell phone records, and what we learned from that analysis really changed the entire course of the investigation.
The disappearance of a pregnant Frederick woman and her 2 children has captured the nation's attention.
Shanann Watts and her 2 young daughters haven't been seen in the last 2 days.
Police say Watts, who is 15 weeks pregnant, and her 2 daughters, Celeste, age 3, and Bella, age 4, haven't been seen since Monday morning, gone without a trace from the family's home in Frederick.
This is something that happens in the movies. My next door neighbors are actually missing. That's a hard pill to swallow. You start thinking about things like they don't have their medicine, she doesn't have her wallet, how is she staying somewhere, she doesn't have keys, she doesn't have any money. But of course you hold on to that hope, but deep down